Hi everyone, this is Jeremy Hoeck of the Press Dakotan. We're here with our friend John Thayer, voice of the Coyote women's basketball team over at USD. We have plenty to talk about. We're talking NCAA Tournament. Yesterday was the big day. Coyotes not only found out who they're playing, but I think the bigger thing was probably where they're playing. Wouldn't you agree that was probably the nicest surprise of the whole deal?
Yeah, I think it was a big question a lot of people had, from the team. I think the team really wanted to be in Ames, get the opportunity to have fans and stuff like that. I know the cheerleading squad really wanted it to be in Ames or Iowa City so they could go, and just being close, it allows for fans to make the trip.
It almost had to be one of those things too where that was in some of the projections that Ames could happen, but I personally thought, well, that would just be too easy. You know what I mean? That just seems like that would be too perfect for them to be 3 hours away, and then lo and behold, it came up on the screen, and there it was.
Yeah, a lot of times they do with the lower seeds. You look for regional, and really any seed, you look for regional if you can, and that's kind of what we got. And I know a lot of people have said, well, South Dakota State's always had to travel, but what people forget is that there were different seeds. The time that they were in the tournament, and Ames was a host site. They weren't a 15 seed, so they couldn't go to Ames, and they weren't a 7 or a 10. So you have to keep that in mind. It's all about seeding and where they put those brackets at.
And it probably worked out well, too, for them this year to see that Iowa City and Ames were possibilities, maybe whereas years past there weren't that many close options. So it really kind of worked out perfectly for them to have those options and then to be sent there.
Yeah, no doubt. There were a lot of people talking maybe Lexington, Kentucky, or Waco, Texas, or Seattle, and which that'd be fun for a trip for a lot of people. But it'd be nice to be just 3.5 hours away.
And it was, I don't know about you, but when the selection show was going on yesterday, last night we watched it with the entire Coyote Nation, a lot of fans and stuff. You started seeing these cities get picked off. Seattle was gone, and then Iowa City was gone, and Lexington, and then it got to the very end, and then it was kind of anticlimactic in a way because they threw up 4 games, and there was USD at the bottom, so there was this really funny delayed reaction where people could obviously read down the line, and there it was, and then you thought, oh, there's South Dakota, and then you see Ames, and oh, Stanford. It's like, oh, you knew either way it was going to be a tough opponent, but man.
Yeah, the challenge about Stanford is they had a case for number 1.
Yeah, they did.
I think a lot of people thought they would be a number 1 seed, and they got bumped to a number 2. So now USD's going to play a team that legit could be a number 1 in this tournament, but they are a number 2, and it'll be interesting. You knew it was going to be a challenging matchup. You knew it was going to be one of the top programs in the country, and it was a matter of finding out who and where.
Yeah. And did you read some of the Stanford stuff where they were a little upset that they had to go to Ames rather than maybe being closer to home in California? Some of their coaches were a little frustrated that they had to go to Iowa now.
Yeah, because they have, there's a first round and second round in Los Angeles, which is not far away for them. And, I think the challenge for Stanford is, assuming they win their first game, then they get either Florida State or Iowa State. If they get Iowa State, they're playing a number 7 seed on Iowa State's home floor.
Yeah.
And that happens to Louisville as well. If Louisville's going to get back home to their region, they have to go through potentially Iowa on its home floor. So they really made it challenging on a couple of these teams, and I can understand why Stanford's a little upset about flying halfway across the country to go play round 1 and 2.
I got a big kick out of it too, but it's like, come on, you're a 2 seed. You're going to win. And that's the challenge I would imagine for USD is trying to find a way to stay competitive. Obviously you want to try to win the game, but in all likelihood, probably not going to happen. You just want to probably have a good game, don't you think? They're going to try to find a way to keep it competitive.
Yeah, they'll do their best to try to stay as competitive as they can. Stanford, when you're talking about a team that could be a number 1 seed in this tournament, a team that's been rated, I think, as high as number 4, number 3 in the country, their losses this season, they've had 3 of them. Their losses have been to UConn, which everybody so far has lost to UConn, Washington, which was on the road, and then somehow they lose to USC in the semifinals of the Pac-12 tournament. So those are their losses, and they just got some really good players. They're led by Shanae Ogumake.
Oh, he got it.
Who is their,
he's had it perfect every time.
She's their leading player, averages 26 points, 12 rebounds a game, you can always look at what happens in the team's wins, but I always go back to their losses. And even in their 3 losses, she had a double-double in all 3 of those games. Against UConn, 16 points, I think, and 12 rebounds. Their loss to Washington, I think it was something like 26-14, and then in their loss to USC, she had 30 points and 21 rebounds. That's a pretty good game for one player.
So, yeah, she's doing her part.
Yeah, no doubt. And they got a couple other nice players like Amber Araj, very good point guard, handles the ball really well. And then the roof girl, I think it's Michaela, but the roof girl on the inside, she's very good too. So it's just a loaded program. There's a reason they've been to 27 straight NCAA tournaments. 6 out of 7 Final Fours. I mean, they did just it's a good program.
That was funny that Amy Williams pointed that out today. That she goes, on a teleconference, that not only are they getting there, we have to remember they've been to 6, like you said, 6 of the last 7 Final Fours. So this is a perennially, national championship caliber program that they're going against. I mean, they're not going against a tournament regular that gets bounced every year.
Right. They win. They've been to the championship. I think they were there a couple of years ago and lost to UConn. I think their last championship was actually in like '92. So it's been a while since they've won it. But let's be honest, if you're getting to the Final Four, you're doing something right.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I remember looking at that when some of the projections were Louisville for USD, and I was trying to do just a little research, just so we're not completely surprised. And looking at Louisville and thinking, holy cow, that's right, they were in the national championship game last year. And it's like, either way, that 2 seed that USD was, it's going to be a challenge. And now you're talking some of the elites.
Yep. And in this tournament, no 15 or 14 has ever won a game in this tournament. There has been a 16 that won. I'm not real sure how, but
that's kind of funny to see that.
A 16 that won in the women's tournament, but not in the 15 or the 14. And I think the tournament field's interesting as well because you got 15 programs out of the 64 that have not been to more than 2 appearances in the NCAA tournament. 5 of them are making their first ever appearance, and obviously USD, UND, 2 programs we know well, are 2 of those. So it's neat. Maybe that says something about how far women's basketball has come as a whole, and maybe some of the parity that's it's starting to get more parity in these leagues and that kind of deal.
I don't know about you, but it's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's set in for you, but it's been pretty crazy to think that we haven't really had time to stop and think about what's going on. Like now we're talking NCAA tournament. Like 2 or 3 months ago, we were talking about a team that was 0-4 in the Summit League, and now isn't that amazing that you can have that much of a turnaround? Yeah,
it is, and obviously I've been able to watch this team every game, and I really thought they had the players to do very well on the season, and they went through their ups and downs. They went through a time where they had injuries, and I think that speaks to the volumes of Nicole Seekamp and how important she is to this basketball team. When she came back from injury, the defense got better. They went from 2-5 in the Summit League to 5-2 in their second trip through the Summit League, just with Nicole Seekamp back and being healthy. And she did play in some of those first games, but none of those games was she 100% like she was in the second half of the season. So she did a lot, and then that group as a whole did a lot of growing up throughout the course of the year. So they're playing about as good as I think they can play right now. So hopefully that carries over into Saturday. And even though the challenge is big, you still want to see a team go out there and play to their best. If you go out there and play your best and you lose a game, then you have no regrets about it.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Ames. That's about perfect. I still can't get over that. Ames, Iowa. That's 3.5 hours away. I suppose we could get there at 3 if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But anyway, 5:30 p.m. Saturday. It's on ESPN too. So a nationally televised game. It'll get a lot of exposure. So John obviously will be doing all his radio stuff. I'll have a lot of radio. I'll have a lot of Twitter, Instagram, stories, photos. Just staying busy. We'll have a lot of stuff. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll see you guys there. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.